Good morning, everyone. Hi, everyone on Zoom. If you were here, you'd have donuts and you'd see us live. Justin is here live, our guest speaker. But awesome. Let's kick off the calendar.
All right. Let's pull it up here. I'm managing my point, so I'm just trying to make sure we got it. Okay. There we are. I'm going to actually pull this over here so I can have it this way. And
all right, what do we have going on? So today is Mackenzie's last day. So we have a happy hour for her. Goodbye happy hour at 3:30 today in here. So come by, say goodbye to Mackenzie. We will have drinks and maybe some snacks, but we adore Mackenzie, but we will send her off with love today. So that is today. And then we have our CE class on Wednesday. What's that about, Austin?
we're going to have it be cut the pipe. So it's learning about the whole house electrification. And I believe it is, I think it's, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Oh, getting rid of natural gas.
Yes.
So interesting, right? Interesting concept. And then paid ads will be the command class. The command classes are now taught by Austin. So he's fully taken over those. So those are good.
And I do have them in person and on Zoom. So it is a hybrid class. So feel free to come in. It seems to be a little bit better because you can at least use your computer and not have it stuck on Zoom.
And then we're doing some fun stuff. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, let's show you.
Having fun on Friday.
Okay, so new share. If I can do this, oh my gosh. Back to this.
Because it's summer and we know a lot of people are spending more time with their kids and, you know, balancing everything. We wanted to just kind of incorporate a little bit more fun. So we're doing a little ice cream social this Friday, 1 to 3. And it's really low key. It's really just come by the office. You can bring your kids. You can even invite your clients to bring their kids and come by and get ice cream. Did you know White used to work at Baskin Robbins and was Employee of the Month? He let us know.
That's everything before even you're with work.
We tried to say, let's do ice cream sandwiches, and he was like, no, we got to do the whole deal. The ice cream sundae, the authentic scoops, the whole shebang. So please come by and yeah, bring your kids, family friendly, totally casual, anytime between 1 and 3 on Friday. So beat the traffic. And then it's not up here, but the following Friday, we're going to do the same thing, but with the Kona ice truck. So we just want to keep it fun and light this last month of summer before kids go back to school. And, you know, so again, use it also as a good way to get in touch with your clients and invite your clients to come by. We will be here. Hope to see you guys there. Mega Camp. So Mega Camp. Travel, I know, is getting a little weird with Delta variant and all of that. But even if you are not traveling for Mega Camp, here in the office, we will have Gary's speech playing both Tuesday and Wednesday are the main days. And that's August 24th and 5th.
I have the calendar pulled up right now.
Okay.
So this is our calendar. By the way, we have these on the back table over here. These are our printouts that you can have and put up in your offices and have access to. I'll put it on the website as well if people want a digital copy. But this 4th week of August is Mega Camp. And right here on, oh, I should probably put my cursor over here. Right here on Tuesday, the 24th and the 25th. It's kind of hard to see here on the projector, but 24th and 25th, we have Mega Camp with Gary Keller. He's going to have that 2-hour session. We're accommodating for Texas time, so it is a little early, 8 to 11, but we'll have breakfast provided. We'll get some good eats here. So
Breakfast burritos and sausage sandwiches and all that good stuff. So Gary's speech is really like the highlight that a lot of people go to the event for. He gives a really good vision speech for like what the future of our industry and our company are. And then he gives the state of our business of where we are at now. So it's really great and insightful to hear. So check out that if you are not going live or out of town, for sure come to the office those days and check that out.
Oh, and I want to check something real quick. Marcella's mentioning something. You're right, August 7th, I put that wrong. This ice cream extravaganza is August 6th. And you can look at it on the calendar right here, August 6th, Friday. Sorry, I just created that flyer this morning. So I'll fix that. So we make sure that when I post on Facebook, but thank you, Marcella, for pointing that out. It is August 6th, this Friday, for the ice cream social.
Good call out, Friday, August 6th. Okay, and the next calendar thing is Monday, August 9th is Realtor Day at Street of Dreams. And so if you're interested, you do have to buy a ticket. It doesn't cost any money, but you go online, there's a link to buy it. And if you're not licensed, you can bring or you can bring someone, I think it's $20 for guests, but it should be fun. There's, wine and food and all agents. It starts at 3 o'clock that day. And I know a ton of people from the office are going. So let's all go, make it a really fun time. That's on Monday. All right, what else? Chad, hi Chad from Academy.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
You can, tell us what's going on in the
Wonderful.
meeting.
All right, well, we're going to keep it very simple today, okay? Austin, I had emailed you a little infograph. Did you receive that?
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. It's a
I'd
little.
love to have you bring that up for us. And after you bring up that infograph, I'm going to boil down my time to just 5 quick bullet points, really quick for you. Give you a quick and easy opportunity to hopefully create some easy business for yourself.
Let's see. So I have it up here in the office. Let me just.
Okay.
The logistics of this is fantastic.
No worries.
There you go. Can you see it on your end?
All right. So bullet point number 1, yes, I can see it, is so CoreLogic came out with their year-over-year home price averages, and you can see how staggering the effect has been post-COVID year over year in several of these states. What I find intriguing is that it's a kind of a West Coast, East Coast kind of thing, or Northwest, Northeast kind of thing. It's with a few southern states thrown in there, but it's just unbelievable the increase in home prices that we have seen. Now, that doesn't mean that the homes close at that price, but year over year, CoreLogic tracks where these homes come on the market price-wise, and you can see how incredibly active many of the West Coast states have been. So the second piece is that regardless of affordability per se, because I know I'm hearing that a lot in my world, people just say, I feel like I'm overpaying, or maybe it's too much. What I always bring to their attention is I say, look, you may feel that the price is too high, but the interest rates are the lowest again that they've ever been since World War II. We, in the last 3 business days, exceeded the 200-day moving average, the technical indicator of the 200-day moving average, where mortgage-backed securities trade. And what that simply means is that interest rates are now pushing down into the 2s. So for well-qualified buyers on primary residences, it is attainable to secure rates in the 2s for a 30, a 20, a 15. It's just unbelievable. So here we are a year later back in the 2s. For second homes and for investment properties, low mid 3s, still historically unbelievable. So number 3, you need a reason to call your database and your past clients. This is a reason. Bring them into attention and awareness that interest rates, if you're well qualified, are in the mid 3s on down into the 2s, depending on what they're trying to accomplish, okay? And then the fourth thing is that with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac removing, they had a 0.5 point pricing hit to the cost of a rate that they instituted back in the fall, and that was removed just a few weeks ago, and that has also helped bring interest rates down. So the number 5 bullet point that I'm going to end with is that if you need an easy way to create business opportunities for yourself, we have a solution, and Josh Daglish and I have talked about this solution later on. It's a private portfolio investor that Academy has, where you can do 10% down on a investment property, or if somebody wanted to call it a second home, but we would put it under the rental property program. They only have to put 10% down, and there's no mortgage insurance. Last I checked, this product was in the mid to low 3s. And so you could reach out to your clients and say, hey, Bill and Mary, you've told me in the past, or you've expressed interest in the past that you want to diversify your portfolio, or you want to grab that beach home, or you want to grab that property over in Central Oregon. This is the time, because as you can see in Oregon, home prices have gone up 20%. Well, 20% is more than the 10% needed to go out and buy a rental property or a second home. So it's an easy sales position that you can communicate to your past clients and your relationships. And then you let us know, introduce us, we'll help them do the cash out refinance. If they don't have the money on hand, we can do a cash out refinance on their primary home. They can turn around, take that money and diversify their portfolio with a rental property or maybe a second home. It is an amazing time to take advantage of these home price increases and to be able to diversify your portfolio. And it's an easy conversation to reach out to your past clients with. I'm going to end with that. Let me know if you have any questions. Reach to myself or Josh Daglish, and have a great day.
Thank you, Chadwick. That was really good. Can I just recap that? Because that was really, really good. So you can get a loan for an investment property, 10% down, no mortgage insurance, and a rate in the mid 3s?
Mid 3s, yep.
That's pretty incredible. Bradley, you want to add to that?
Yeah, question for him as well. Is that going to be being qualified off the 10%? It's going to be either being qualified. It's a good obligation.
Bradley asked, is it being qualified off the 10% or qualified off the person's income?
It is a qualification standard where they do have to meet the criteria of carrying both properties. If it's being treated as a second home, they've got to be able to carry both homes. If it's being treated as a rental property, we can do what's called a rent schedule. A lot of times, most investors have previous rental history. And so we have that information and we can show that they have rental income to offset the debt on the new home. But if they don't have previous rental history, we can do a rent schedule, and we can use 75% of the gross projected rental income. And that comes from the appraiser. So the appraiser does an assessment of it based on it being a rental property, and they provide that rent schedule to us. So let's just say, for simple math, let's say the rent that would come in would be $2,000 a month on that home. We could then count $1,500. If the appraiser says on the rent schedule it's $2,000, we could count $1,500 to help offset the debt. So remember, they do have to meet all the lending criteria. And so that's credit, income, debt ratio, debts, and assets. We've got to meet all the buckets. But the ability to use the anticipated rental income to help offset the debt can sometimes be the difference on whether or not they qualify or not.
Great. Thank you, Chad.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then before we get to our special guest, Justin, I do want to call out 2 more classes that we have next week that are being taught by our very own agents. So on Monday, Bradley is going to be teaching a class. What is it called?
Depreciation and inflation in today's market.
That's good. Good stuff, right? Right in line with what Chad was just mentioning as far as, buying investment properties. So that should be a good one. That is at 11 o'clock on Monday. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
And then
Wait, sorry, I want to.
Austin's confirming. And then on Tuesday, Rochelle is doing a social media roundtable at 11.
Yes.
So bring your questions for that, and that can be about anything, TikTok, Instagram, stories, reels, anything. The discussion changes every time. So both of those great classes taught by our agents at the beginning of next week. So just want to call out those because Monday sneaks up on us. So Bradley, we are excited to have you teach this for the very first time. I will be there. And all right, well now we have our amazing Justin Stoddart. He is from Older Public Title, but also has a very popular podcast, best-selling author. What else?
That's about it.
Real estate guru,
Big family.
father of 6, real estate expert, but we love hearing from him. He talks to a ton of people in our industry, and so he just has a really good perspective on what's going on in our industry, what people can be doing. So today he's going to specifically talk about productivity and some hacks and secrets to being more productive in our business.
Love it.
All right, thanks, Justin. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. So good to be back with you all in person. Some of you virtually. I've got a quick joke to start off, just to lighten the air a little bit. Productivity is kind of a deep topic. Do you guys hear what happened to the guy that invented the knock-knock joke? Anybody?
No.
He won the Nobel. All right. No more dad jokes. Let's get rocking and rolling. Productivity masterclass. I'm passionate about this topic because I always feel like there's not enough. She's got the joke over there. She's laughing. There's never enough time in the day, right? You ask anybody what I would have in order to have like 26 hours in a day or 8 days a week. Anybody ever feel like that? Like I just wish I had more time. Dwight and I sat together a couple weeks ago, and I said, Dwight, what's the biggest problem that's facing agents right now? And we talked about some of the things, some of the challenges that are faced, and we both kind of came to the conclusion that if we could bring a way for agents to be more productive, to be able to get more done in less time, and be able to manage everything that's going on, it would be a boon. It would be very helpful. Would everybody here agree that that would be, keep talking. No more dad jokes, just cut to the chase. I
time for that.
You're right. I heard you. Right. No time for that. However, after this, you might realize how I've developed some more time to create my side comic star. You'd be like, that's where he's got the time to do it. He's figuring some things out. All right. And you're gonna be like, spend some more time on it, would you? All right. So here's the topics. Oh, that's helpful. There we go. Okay. So these are the topics we're gonna cover. Okay. We'll hopefully get through all of them. If not, I'll give you access to go hear a recording in which I did this same thing, okay? In fact, why don't I just, before I forget, if any of you want to email me and say, hey, I'd love access to this afterwards, whether you're watching virtually, I'll give you a link that'll give you access to the same presentation. So just email me at justin@justinstoddart.com, and I'll be sure and send you this link so you can get access to more, even more stuff that's in there. Okay, so with that being said, first we're gonna talk about time, like how you get more time back and how you get more space. Okay, like how you get more space and what does that mean? We're gonna talk about the chaos and myths, the power to act, and then we're also gonna talk about how you gain back time. Okay. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about time. Specifically, we're gonna talk about your dollar per hour. Okay, I wanna help you think differently about how you use your time. And there's a very simple hack, a very simple filter that will give you the ability as you go throughout your day to be able to say, I should be doing this or I should not be doing this. Meaning I should find another person, system, or tool to help me with this because this is not consistent with how much I want to make this year, okay? So I want everybody to write down, if you have a piece of paper, wherever you're at, write down your desired income. And you'll see that up here on the screen, okay? Like, what is it that you want to gross? You could use a net dollar, but we'll just stick with gross just to keep it simple, okay? Then I want you to put down how many days of the week do you intend to work? 7.5 is not the right answer, okay? You need to at least, I would say 6 or less, even if it's a half day here and a half day there. Otherwise, I just see too many agents burn out. So 6 or less, how many days do you plan on working in the next year? Okay. How many hours per day? Again, this isn't looking backward, this is looking forward. If you say 2 hours, I'm gonna say you're not in the right business. You say 4, probably not in the right business. You say 6, say 8, probably more realistic, maybe even more, okay? But ideally, okay? So those two numbers, the days and the hours, okay? Multiply those together. Okay, now we said days per week. Let me change that slightly. Let's say how many, if we said 6, okay, we actually want to annualize this, okay? So if we said days, then take off, I'm running short on my math skills here today, apologize. I want you to annualize that, okay? I'll put that in you guys' core, okay? If you're working 6 days a week, then just know that you're gonna take like 52 days off a year for weekends, right? Or for your time off, you're gonna pull that out of the equation. So 365 minus, let's say it's 52, okay? So do that math, multiply that by how many hours you're gonna work. That will give you your annual hours worked. Anybody, like, raise your hand if you need me to review that real quick. Everybody good? Okay, great. Okay, so now I want you to take your desired income and divide it by those annual working hours. Okay, very good. That should give you a $1 per hour applied over how many hours you're working for the day. So let's say the number is $250,000 a year. I believe that numbers are about $130 per hour. Okay, $135 per hour. Okay, so whatever your number is, I want you to now think about the time that you spent even in the last day. Okay, the hours that you spent working. How many of those hours do you think were actually worth $135 into the marketplace? Okay, now you might be saying, look, I don't really know. Here's a great litmus test, is for you to be able to say, I'm going to look at the last hour prior to coming into this meeting, the last hour that I spent in my business. Okay, and I'm gonna list everything out that I did during that hour. That becomes a job description. I'm gonna go post that on Indeed.com. And I'm gonna say, I'm hiring an assistant. I'm willing to pay them $135 an hour to do these things that you just did. And if you're like, oh crap, I would never pay anybody $135 an hour to casually peruse social media, then you know that you should not be doing that if you want to actually make $135 an hour or $250,000 a year, okay? So that number becomes a filter for you to say, okay, I have to fill my day then with activities that are worth that. Now, I've actually had agents say, I wouldn't pay anybody $135 an hour to do anything. I'm like, okay, let's test that. Let's say I were to get my license and I go out to this neighborhood over here and I start knocking on doors and I come back with a couple listing, like signed agreements. Would you pay me $135 to bring back a signed listing agreement? That was money well spent, right? Now, I'm not saying you should go knock doors. That might not be your thing. But there are certain things in this business that pay far beyond that number that you have on your paper. And it might not be realistic to fill your entire day with those, but they ought to occupy at least a good portion of your day. Okay, anybody know what those things might be? Let's kind of list them out. Like, what are some things that you guys feel like would be worth that? Go ahead.
Open houses.
Okay, open houses, good. I would add intentional open houses, 100% agree, right? Which that's kind of, who else? What else is worth the high $1 per hour?
Filtering through my.
Okay, filtering through or making calls?
Filter through.
Okay,
The calls are the easy part.
Okay. Tell me about filtering, because that's interesting, because I wouldn't necessarily put like organizing in preparation for the call, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Telling me who to call.
Okay, because then you make the calls, like they're kind of one and the same for you. Like I filter through and then I make the call.
No, you filter through.
Okay.
I make it.
Oh, okay. Got it. So you would pay somebody else $135 an hour to hand you a call list.
Yes.
Okay. Great. And you feel like that'd be a good return for you.
Yes, it would be
You might
good.
have some people knocking on your door. I'll filter for you.
Sorry.
Okay. Awesome. Who else has something where it's like, yes, it's proven to me that this is worth that much money. Anybody have any thoughts? Client events. Totally agree. You get a bunch of your clients and referral partners in one room at one place. Awesome idea. Totally agree. Yep, good. Who else?
Negotiate deals.
Good. Actually, having the realtor hat on, right? It's like an attorney when he turns on like his hours, right? Like these are paid hours. I'm using my license to do this thing. Nobody, like the casual public can't do this. You're well paid for those things. Okay. Any other thoughts? We got kind of lead generation, different, right, types of that. We've got negotiating contracts. We've got, what else falls into that category? Is there anything else? Listing appointments, right? Going on appointments, okay, some key ones. Think about the things, and this is for you to just be aware and cognizant of the fact that the way you spend your time in this marketplace is actually how you'll get paid. You can't disconnect the two for long. There is a day of reckoning, and that day of reckoning is whether or not money's coming in the door. And if you do the right activities, the money will keep coming in the door. If you don't, and we spend our time not working but preparing to work, then people don't pay us for that, right? They pay us for actually bringing value to them. Okay? All right. So we talked about this. How do I increase my dollar per hour? So let's say you get to an item where it's like this, no one's going to pay me to do this, but it's got to be done, right? What's your answer to that? It's got to be done, but it's maybe a $25 an hour activity. What do you do? Okay.
Or post up TaskRabbit. You don't want to hire someone to do all of the things all the time. Hire them to do some of the things for 3 days.
I love it. TaskRabbit. There's some great tips coming out here. Okay. Good. Hire somebody. I would imagine there's probably agents in the office that would even do some of, right? The newer agents looking for experience would love to go do some of the stuff that is kind of mundane to you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say automate it.
Okay. Good. Yeah. What we learned in the Red Book, right, is a person, a system, or a tool. Those are the things. That's how we outsource. I know that you can get some qualified help from the Philippines, right? Like in other places, right? Like ask around. There's ways to where you don't have to do the things that are going to dilute your dollar per hour. Now, at first, you might not be ready for that. Like I get it. When you're starting a business, I get it. But you be careful not to infuse those activities into key business hours, because sometimes that acts as a comfort blanket. Like I was just in North Dakota. My wife is from North Dakota. She takes her baby blanket with her everywhere. My wife will be 40 this year. She's given birth to 6 humans, and she still takes her baby blanket with her everywhere. Like it's her thing, right? And while she was there with her mom, she made our kids, one kid, our family, baby blanket. Like it's a big deal to her. And it's funny because some of us do that same thing. We have this baby blanket that just helps us feel comfortable, which are actually activities that don't pay us very well, right? Because it's easier actually to do some of the stuff around the office than it is to actually make a call or to go do an open house or to, right, the stuff you guys mentioned. So that's a trick. Know your dollar per hour, what it was last year and what it's going to be this upcoming year. And realize that somehow that gap's got to close. And the way it's going to close is by you pulling out those activities that are your baby blankets, right? Start to get rid of those and fill it with good things and watch it rise, okay? So this was the kind of takeaway from this section is you to be, and in fact, I would encourage everybody right now to write down at least one thing that's got to go. One thing that you can't be doing anymore. You know it. If you share it with somebody else, they'd be like, yeah. I wouldn't pay you $135 an hour to do that. I wouldn't pay you $270 an hour to do that, right? What is that thing? Write it down. That's got to go. Make a commitment today to get one of those things off your plate, or at least do it in the after hours, right? Do it at 10 o'clock at night when your clients and your family's not counting on you to be there, right? Okay. All right, let's talk about space. Right? Now, I'm not Elon Musk. We're not going to talk about Mars, but I want to talk about the what and the why of space, okay? And we're going to talk about the fact that there's 2 types of space. Now, normally when I do this presentation, I do it on my iPad where I can kind of draw stuff. I can't do that today, but I'm going to encourage you to draw to your mind, okay? 2 types of space. There's head space and there's calendar space. Both are critical for you to being productive, okay? Let's talk about head space. What is head space?
Like white space, your ability to take time to think about your business, have mental clarity, be able to like be in a place to work and do and think.
Okay, love that.
I guess emotional mental capacity.
Yeah,
Your
And-
bandwidth.
good stuff. Any other thoughts? Headspace. Does that term mean to you?
Kind of think of headspace as like the things that are currently important.
Okay.
Focus on.
Good.
where my energies go.
Love it. Do you guys understand this topic, right? What happens when you don't have headspace? When like your brain is running, even at night, even when you're with family, even when you're with clients and the wheels are turning and maybe not necessarily about what you're presently supposed to be focusing on. Anybody ever have that? You just have a hard time turning it off. Okay. What happens? Like what's the consequence of that? What's the consequence of not having headspace where you can stop and think and be present and listen? Anybody here have any? Go ahead here and then here. Go ahead.
I just take your dollar per hour.
Okay. I agree with that, right?
Forgetful, like you let stuff fall on the floor because you're like focusing on something that could wait, you know.
Yeah.
You're not as kind as you could be.
Interesting.
You're not very positive. 100% your
Okay.
That's what I was talking about on making lunch.
Okay.
Regretful or resentful down the road because you missed things with your family.
Yeah. Ever
Like
felt that way?
or like losing retention of like just things you're learning, whether you're like studying for something, you're learning something, or you're needing to remember important information of someone you're talking with, you just forget it. It's lost. You can't get it back. Good.
It's kind of like a picture, right? It's
What are we
like,
talking
you can't hold it.
That's when you rage quit and start crying.
I believe that like burnout, there's some precursors, some signs. The rage crying, I haven't heard of that. That's interesting though. But yeah, like, and there's some precursors to that, right? Which are the fact that like I can't turn it off. I can't turn it off. Like it's always running. So how do you fix that? Let's talk about headspace first. We'll go back to calendar space next. How do you fix getting headspace?
You put it on the calendar.
I know, I was just gonna say
Okay.
my calendar holds my headspace.
Okay, good. Tell me your process. What does that look like?
Well, like, for me, the night before, I always re-review, like, what is like the most important things to accomplish the next day. And I already have like a to-do list. So when I wake up and I'm like, oh, what am I doing today? I already know, like, I'm doing this, 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 I gotta call this person, I gotta be here. So that just helps me manage. And like my personal life and my professional life, like, I gotta drop off my daughters and I gotta head here, gotta go pick up my daughter, take her here, then I gotta go here, that kind of stuff.
So good.
I would also say reframing your idea of rest instead of like something that you have to earn by being productive to the things in your day, to think of it as a requirement. Or regardless of what you got done, or you will never catch up.
And you guys are dropping some gold nuggets here. I'm not sure if everybody at home can hear this, but I'll summarize some takeaways from the audience that they're sharing here. I believe that if you don't have clarity, that's one of the biggest disruptors to personal peace and to headspace. And this concept of everything that floats into your head, getting it on paper, getting it in your calendar, getting it on a task list that you then systematically visit and get done, is not having that in place will cause you to have the tires spinning and not going anywhere. So if you don't have that, and oftentimes we make the mistake, and I'm gonna talk about this here in a little bit, about the mistake that we make of and again, this is my opinion, you may not have to say it's where our inbox is our master. And whatever comes in there, that's what we do. Now, email is a bad master because we never know what that master is going to say or who that master is going to be or what they're going to require of us. Okay, so having a process where you're able to put stuff in your calendar. What do they say about a calendar? If it's not your calendar, it doesn't exist. The challenge is it does, but it exists over and over and over and over in your head and causes one thing that if you could take it and say, oh yeah, I don't want to forget about that, or that's causing me grief right now, I'm going to schedule time in my calendar to address that. Now you can say, I'm done. I don't have to worry about that anymore. That client that had an issue, that had a concern, I've scheduled time to take care of that tomorrow. Boom, I'm back now. Okay. That gives you headspace. Being an entrepreneur myself. I was a high-end home builder for a number of years. Have a coaching and training company now that I'm launching. I get the fact that when you're with family, the tendency, and with loved ones or doing whatever, the tendency is to have your wheels turning over here and to be present physically, but not be there emotionally. Our loved ones miss out, we really miss out. So I'd encourage you to have a process, and it probably would look something like what was described. What was your name?
Rochelle.
Rochelle. Great process, right? When I have something, I put it in my calendar, right? And then she knows, she reviews it to know what's coming. Once you have clarity, you can rest and your brain can rest. You don't wake up at 3 a.m. like, oh my goodness, I'm so worried about that. Okay, that's awful feeling. So create that process. All right. The next type of space is calendar space, schedule space. I think as Americans have this badge of honor of how many hours I worked. I worked 20 hours yesterday. Like it's something to be like, yeah, give me an award, baby. Right? Meanwhile, our health, mental health, physical health is like deteriorating, and our relationships are who knows where. Okay, so actually creating space in your calendar, like to where you don't actually fill it entirely. Now, let me say that differently. You do fill it entirely, but you don't fill it entirely with other people's demands. You actually fill up every block, but some of that block is review my task list, check my email, right? Work on this problem that's been troubling me. Imagine if you had time in your calendar to work on those things, to check your email, to check your voicemail. And it might seem a little like over the top to have your calendar that regimented, but if you want space to think and design and create and differentiate yourself from the marketplace, you have to have space for that. The people that aren't on a hamster wheel all the time, they create better offers that the marketplace accepts. I'm not talking about necessarily real estate offers, although that could fall into there as well. But they take time to learn. They take time to grow. They take time to design and think and create and have conversations with people and learn from those conversations. But you don't have space for that if you don't have a process for creating it. So item number one, the one thing that you should look at first and foremost, beyond even above your inbox, is your calendar. And I believe you should get in the practice of every night before you close down your computer and are done, you fill up your calendar. And some of that calendar has white space. And I actually mean put a block saying, I'm going to check my email. I'm going to work on this project. Because if you leave it open, what happens? If you just say, okay, I'm going to work on it in this space that's not calendar. Anybody ever, like, what actually happens at that time? It disappears, right? Something happens. Yeah, it ends up just filling up because you've got emails coming in, you've got people calling, and if you can decide in advance, this is the stuff that is important to me this day, and I'm going to block out a little bit of time here to check my email to see what is important to the people that are important to me. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a plan in place where you're in control. Where I see a lot of burnout in real estate and just entrepreneurship in general is the fact that your inbox is your master. And whatever it says, you do. And guess what? That is a mean master because it's relentless and it's always coming and you're always on someone else's agenda. You'll never fulfill your biggest goals and your biggest potential. And I believe get to that dollar per hour and ultimate life and impact that you want if you let other people always decide, what am I going to do today? No, you decide. You give a block a window to find out, like to go help other people that are asking for your help. But don't let that thing control you, or it will, right? And don't let just, like, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You've heard that, right? If you don't actually fill that space with something intentional, saying, I'm going to do this at this time, then it will fill up with garbage. It'll fill up with stuff that you're like, where's all my time going? Okay? So I would encourage you right now to make a commitment, write down, what am I going to do? Like, when are you going to do your first calendaring session? Like, actually probably maybe even open up your calendar and put in, I'm gonna check tomorrow's calendar at this time tonight, before I leave the office, before I close down my computer, put a little reminder, plan tomorrow and fill it up, okay? Any thoughts, feedback, any questions on that before I move on? Good, everyone, okay? All right. We won't get into this right now, but in addition to the daily plan, just as important to that, and really what sets the foundation for that, is a Sunday night weekly plan. And what sets the foundation for that is a 90-day sprint, right? A 90-day, 1 quarter at a time. This is what I'm going to do in 90 days. This is how I'm going to achieve at this level in 90 days. And then an annual plan. I do a lot of business planning. If anybody's interested, put that in your email as well. Just say, hey, we'd love to talk about that. Before long, we're going to be getting into business planning session. I know some of us have spent some time together kind of creating plans. So I have a template. It's super easy to plug in your information and calculate your dollar per hour, some of that stuff. So happy to start scheduling those here before long. So the follow-up question, how is my headspace? On a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself. How's my headspace? You have to say that out loud. I don't want to incriminate anybody. How is my schedule space? Do I actually have time in there to get better? Do I actually have the time to go work on my business, not just in my business? Do I have the time to work on myself? Do I have time to spend with people that I love? Okay. What will I start, stop, and continue to increase my headspace? What's working, what's not? Okay, some questions for you to consider. And what will I start, stop, and continue to increase my schedule space? All right. Chaos and myths is the next section here. Actually spent some time, like I said, in North Dakota. My wife, we drove by her high school. She said, this is where I went to high school. And right over there, that's the storm shelter. I was like, what? Are you serious? I was like, what are you running from? She's like, tornadoes. Every once in a while, I get tornadoes out here. I'm like, wow, that's so crazy. And actually, this looks like North Dakota a little bit here. And yeah, I like all the houses. They've got storm shelters. Because once in a while, chaos comes through. And it can be pretty disruptive, of course. So let's talk about the chaos. We've discussed this a little bit, but what disrupts your day? If you'd say like the whirlwind of a real estate agent's day, what does that consist of?
The buyer you would talk to in 6 months going, hey, there's 20 houses I want to see this afternoon.
Okay, very good. Let's address that. That's a fantastic one. How do you address that? How do you either prevent that and or deal with it when it comes?
So you pull up a showing assistant, or you have time scheduled in your afternoon empty for showing to come up.
Okay.
And you say, hey, I can't show you 20 houses in one day. I'm gonna show you 5. Let's go through that.
Okay, good. Love that. Anyone else have any thoughts? Like a buyer that all of a sudden you've got your day plan, all of a sudden they say, hey, you're working for me, buddy. Let's go all day. We're going to see all these homes over here. How do you, anybody else have any ways that they deal with that? Do you just say, yes, sir?
You need to have a plan. You need to have somebody you can rely on to.
Okay.
If it's not a full-time buyer's agent, it's somebody you trust.
Okay, somebody here in the office, right? Good.
Or a phone call to regroup, because clearly something has changed and you were not aware of it.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, let's go back to the drawing board. We had a plan 6 months ago. Sounds like you want to revisit that plan. Let's talk about this, okay? Before we just go out and get disappointed on 20 homes you missed out on. I can say that, but right?
And also,
I'd say a lot of that could be avoided too if you're following up with them pretty regularly, just
Okay.
knowing kind of what direction you're shifting and so you can start kind of comparing.
You hope, yeah, you hope, right? They could just go dark.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's not
there's
a
people that followed up with for a whole year that like out of the blue. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't get back to you. I see my emails and I just whatever, or like I see my phone calls and I just don't. But I'll get to you when I get to you. And they're like, yeah, we're in my house tomorrow. So,
Could you put in your follow-up? I think that's great. Of proactively being in contact with them. Could you put in there, here's what the process looks like when you're ready to take the next steps, to where now you're in the driver's seat, right? Otherwise they'll be like, I guess this is how it works. HGTV, I think this is what they do, right? And all of a sudden, who's leading who? And the reality is, when no one's leading anybody, nobody's getting the house that they want in this market.
Yeah, I think setting proper expectations is key. And then it's not just your schedule. You have to remind them the house might already have showings on the book today, or the sellers might not be available to leave because they're working from home. But back to the ladies' points over here, like setting up a call to regroup. Like, let me find out what I can see about these houses. if today doesn't work out because they're already booked or scheduled, they don't have to know it's your schedule too. Like, just because of schedules, what other times are you available this week? And then you can plug it in later too.
Love it. Good. Very good. Really, again, leading. They're paying you to lead them into their better future, right? That's the reality. But if you don't lead them, they're gonna try and lead, and they're gonna be really bad at it. And it's gonna really inflict some pain upon your schedule and upon what you have mapped out. But when people start doing that, it should be a sign of like, crap, I must not be leading them because they're trying to lead me and they're doing a bad job of it. Okay. So awesome. What's another one? What's another example of chaos that's like, this disrupts my day? This makes me not want to be able to. I love everything else, but this drives me crazy. What's the chaos?
Sick kid while you're in the middle of a home inspection. Sorry.
Your sick kid or
I'm not sick.
anyone's
No,
sick?
you're doing what we are, you just go pick them up.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just the chaos of family demands, right? Anybody have anybody that I don't know, what are your solutions? I've got an idea, but I'd love to hear yours. Do you have a backup plan for that?
Have an emergency list for people to,
Okay,
someone. can go pick up.
my kid's at school, I'm tied up, can you help me out? Good, you guys have that in place? It's a good idea, wouldn't it? If you don't have kids, probably don't need them, but maybe for your spouse, backup plan for my spouse, they keep calling me, just deal with them for a minute. Very needy. Okay, any other chaos? Anything else? It's like, this is disruptive. This whole plan you're laying out for us here, Justin, where I schedule out my day and I've got some creative time to think and to make myself better and to lead generate and to be working on my business, all sounds great. But then this comes in and blows your lovely ideas out the window. Traffic. Okay, good. How do you deal with that? What are the preventative measures of that, if any?
Hope that we go back into lockdown so that the roads.
I'm hoping against your hope.
Okay.
But that's okay. We'll have a battle of hope.
Just thinking like earlier, because I do feel in the last months, there's traffic all the time, like even on a Sunday. I'm like, "Oh, there's traffic at 12 p.m." So I've been trying to leave a little bit earlier. But sometimes if you go on across the east side and you have the train, I'm only 30 minutes late to something. Just trying to be 30 minutes early.
Okay, good. Now, oftentimes we don't do that because we feel like I've got stuff to do here, so I can't leave early. What's a way for you to get to the appointment early to where you're not stressed, you're not frazzled, you're not saying, I'm so sorry, I'm late? What's a way for you to be productive with those 30 minutes when you get there 30 minutes early? Anybody else? Can anybody
Well, you
share
can-
this?
You can make phone calls from your car, you know,
Okay.
like if you're doing it from the office or whatever, a lot of stuff you can use in your car while you're waiting.
You could listen to the Think Bigger podcast and.
She brings up a good point. Okay, so there are things that you can do. And I love the idea of like, get there early, right? Traffic is gonna be what it's gonna be. Right? I don't think we're helicopter status yet. Anybody? Imagine like.
Sure
Sure you're home.
late, then at least letting them know instead of showing up late and then not liking communication.
Yeah, I think that'd be a real deal breaker, right? Okay, now the myths. What are some of the myths that we subscribe to that cause us to have some chaos? I'll give you an example. Somebody emails us and we subscribe to the myth that we have to respond immediately. And so as a result, we end up checking our email not 4 or 5 times a day, but 400 times a day. In other words, it's always open and it's like a shooting squad, or it's like a firing squad, like hit me, right? I don't really want to be productive, so please help me not be that way. So how do you deal with that myth? And we've talked about it a little bit, right? Are there other myths? Either add on to that one or share another myth that like I've kind of subscribed to the fact, and I don't know that this is necessarily true.
I'm the only one who needs this. If we all, think
Okay.
we're the only ones who can use our activities.
I think you're talking about the net for a second, I was like, Kelly, we're here for you.
Yeah, I love that, right? Is it not, this has got to be me, right? I can't delegate this to anybody. I can't leave town because no one can take care of these clients like I can. Okay. What about dropping like at a moment's notice to go show home? Like, right? If you're getting Zillow leads and Zillow demands that, that might be what you've signed up for. But maybe that's not your best place to be getting leads, right? Are there ways that you can position yourself in the marketplace to where people are willing to wait for you because they've heard great things about you and they're willing to pay for you? That's a better spot to be in than like, my value proposition is I drop everything and run. Maybe you need to do that to get started, but I wouldn't recommend it as a long-term plan, or I will think the chaos of the industry will become the chaos of your life. And you'll get burnt out and you won't be productive and you'll be barely eking by, and the things that matter even more in life will struggle and will suffer as a result. Okay. So another myth, right, is that I've got to drop everything and go show them home. Now, maybe in a certain market with a certain client in a certain situation, there's an exception. And there's exceptions and there's rules. But don't make the exception your rule, right? Unless you want to have chaos, right?
I think that goes back to setting the proper expectations in your very first meeting. Like if you message me at 9 p.m. and I'm still up and I'm available, I will get back to you. But if I don't, just know I'll call you right first thing in the morning. I'm probably putting my daughter to bed or something. Like if you already have that expectation on the table, then I'm not going to be mad the next morning when you didn't respond at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m.
I love that. That's so good, you guys. I hope you all take that practice. Like at the very beginning, here's how this works. Because again, if you don't lead them, guess what? They try and lead you and they don't know. And sometimes people just send a text because it's on their mind and they're trying to get their mind clear. It doesn't mean you need to be available 24/7. Okay. So love that. Any other myths? You're like, this is something that I've subscribed to that I've got to let go of. You think you've seen, Dwight, in your years in the industry, of agents who they do this thing that's maybe not necessary?
Well, I think it gets back to the biggest one that I think is disruptive is that you have to respond immediately to your clients in whatever way. And I think that it is a learned skill or behavior to be able to say to your clients, hey, I am committed until 5 o'clock, or I'm committed tomorrow morning. How about doing it later in the day or whatever, right? You have to learn to do that. And I think when we're young and we're newer in the business, it's always more difficult to do that because we have uncertainty about, how our year is going to look or how our whole business is going to grow. But I think the sooner you start to carve out those priorities throughout the day and get your schedule cleaned up, the more often you can be in the highest zone of thinking. And that's really what you need to do to excel at this business. So you have to have more of that really high level thinking.
That's interesting. If you want to get paid less and less and less, have your value proposition be, I drop everything and run. Because guess what? They're paying people less and less and less to go do that. But if you want to have a career like Dwight's had, and a business like Dwight's, it's superior thinking. You hear that? That was gold. To actually be able to be so valuable that your clients are like, look, they'll get back to us. It's like if you have a medical specialist who is better than anybody else out there, you wait. Sometimes they say, look, we're 6 months out. You're like, okay, I guess that's what it takes. Now, I'm not saying that you do that in your real estate business, but you get the point, right? Is it when you have enough value, people are willing to wait. But you won't get the value unless you start to take that leap of faith to start to create the space to get yourself a little bit of room to actually learn and grow and think and become more valuable to them. It's where you can actually backfill and actually be the value that they're willing to wait for. Good stuff, Dwight.
Yeah, I do have one thought while you're talking. And this is probably the biggest myth we have. No one else can do it as good as I can do it. Right? Yeah. That is probably the biggest myth we have. When you get to the point where you've done this analysis, you know what you earn per hour, you use that to filter the activities during the day. Every activity that you're doing during the day, you pass through that filter of, I'm worth 135. Why am I doing this? Taking lock boxes to houses. Once you get trained at that, then the big hard thing is no one can do it as good as me, right? I have to write all my ads because I'm the best at writing ads, or I have to write the offers because no one else is going to write the offers as good as I am, or whatever it is, where you say to yourself, I can't let go of that. And that's one of the huge downfalls in real estate.
Love that, Dwight.
And that's one of the first things, I mean, there's an awareness of that, but that's one of the first things that I had when I came to KW that I heard Gary say. And I thought, I'm not sure I agree with that. Right? But over time, oh yeah, he's absolutely right. So.
Awesome. Let me share with you just a quick highlight of the stuff that that we didn't get to, okay? The power to act, okay, which is you can act or be acted upon. And then you setting your own rules and then gaining back time. How there's a simple process I learned from a guy named Ari Meisel. He was deemed the most efficient man in the world. He was a guest on my podcast. And he talks about the process for systematizing, optimizing, and outsourcing. So again, if you want access to a recording where I've shared this, just send me an email, justin@justinstoddart.com. I've also, I'm doing yesterday, today, and tomorrow a training called More Referrals. And it's a way for you to learn how to get more referrals coming to your business so you're not chasing. So people are coming to you. And if you will just go to morereferralschallenge.com, again, morereferralschallenge.com. We're already a day into it, but there's a replay there and you can catch it. So that's a place for you could go to learn actually topics that I discussed in my book, The Upstream Model. So anyway, that's all I have and we're out of time. So thank you all.
Justin, we appreciate it. If you want a copy of the Upstream Model, come see me. I have copies in my office.
Yeah.
And maybe I can get an autographed copy. Thank you, Justin. We really appreciate it. Good stuff today.
At the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
See everybody at 3:30?
3:30. See you at 3:30.
Bye.